Welcome, Facebook live stream viewers. We are so happy to have you with us today. We have difficulties, but we're all here and all ready now. I am Paula Shaw, your backstage with Change It Up Radio, watching us record this week's episode. And by my side is the handsome Chris Craig, who is the owner of the Fitness Genome, I meant to say Genome, which you're going to be hearing some amazing things about. After the show, if you want to actually see the Fitness Genome, scroll down and you'll see the video we did yesterday when Chris actually did some work on myself and on Kathy Smith, who came by to see this state-of-the-art place. So stay with us. There's a lot of cool things that we're going to be talking about, and we will be rendezvousing with Carson Caldwell, our barefoot boy who rode his bike, not exactly a boy, 24-year-old young man, rode his bike from Philadelphia and has crossed the California state line. So we're really excited to connect with Carson and find out about his journey. So please stay with us. We are about to start Change It Up Radio.
Tired of the rut you're stuck in, but don't know what to do? Change it up! Join life transitions therapist, speaker, and best-selling author Paula Shaw. She'll be exploring topics that make change and the challenge it presents smoother and more productive. She'll also be spotlighting change makers who are leading the charge to make the world a better place. If you're ready to live a more exciting life, at home, in the workplace, and around the world, it's time to step out of your comfort zone and change it up. Now, here's your host, Paula Shaw.
Welcome to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. I am so happy to have you here with me today. I'm calling this show today, No Pain, No Gain, Not So Fast. So stay with us to find out why these days we can actually gain. We can become fit and not necessarily have to go through a lot of painful, arduous workouts. With me in studio today is Chris Craig, the owner of a new place that is a state-of-the-art fitness place that is called the Fitness Genome. It has amazing equipment. I've actually been there. We have video of the whole thing on our Change It Up Radio Facebook page, so please be sure to check it out. We'll be talking with Chris, who's right here in studio with me, in just a couple of minutes. But just wanted to say, Change It Up Radio is being brought to you by LifeWave, leaders in the field of activating your stem cells. And their technology, as you know, we talk about each week, is using patches like I'm wearing right here, that work through a process called phototherapy. So stay with us, because also today we're going to be talking to Carson Caldwell. Those of you who follow the show know we have been following Carson for the last, I think, almost 3 months since he left Philadelphia and had started riding his bicycle across the United States barefoot most of the way until he got to pavement that was like 120 degrees. But most of the way he's been riding barefoot, and he has crossed the California state line. So we are really excited to talk to Carson today and hear about that journey. So as you all know, Change It Up Radio is all about spotlighting change makers, people who are doing things in a new way and trying to make the world a better place or make our life experience better. And we also like to bring you information to help you deal with change more productively, more smoothly, and in ways that enhance your life. Because as we have said before, we humans have this love-hate relationship with change. We need it to grow and to keep life interesting, but we hate the discomfort of the unfamiliar. We just don't like having our world heaved upside down, so change can be tough. So I am Paula Shaw, as most of you know. If you want to learn more about me, and my work or where I may be speaking this week, you can get that information on paulashaw.com. And if you want to learn more about this show, Change It Up Radio, if you want to hear past episodes, because we've had some amazing guests on our show, or if you want information about becoming a guest or a sponsor of this show, you can get that information at changeitupradio.com. That's changeitupradio.com. So now let's get right into talking to Chris Craig, who is the owner of the Fitness Genome. And I'm going to need to just put my eyes on to look at Chris's bio so I can tell you a little bit more. He spent 20 years in the corporate world selling medical equipment and pharmaceuticals. But he always had an interest in sports and in the performance edge, as well as health and wellness. And now he has combined all of those passions into a new place that is right here in San Diego called the Fitness Genome. And it is really the opposite end of the spectrum from Western medicine, a lot of the Western medicine type or oriented equipment. What Chris has in this place, we wouldn't call it a gym. What do you call it actually, Chris?
Say it's a fitness recovery center.
Perfect. Fitness Recovery Center.
You could also say a biohacking studio. Some people may be familiar with that term.
I love that. Okay, yeah. You'll have to tell me what that means.
Okay, I'll try.
But, okay, Chris, so let's start with that. Tell us, what is the Fitness Genome and why is it different?
So it's a cutting-edge fitness recovery studio, and as I mentioned, it's sort of a biohacking focus, which is a lot of people familiar with that term. So it's also biohacking, but it also mixes in, it's maybe a bit more holistic in that it mixes in neurology. Everything's sort of neuro-centric in the training. Everything's considered from a neuro-centric lens.
Wow.
Yes.
So we're talking the brain, right?
Yeah, right. Talking the brain.
All that amazing equipment I saw, some of which I used, all is tying into what your brain is doing for your body?
Yeah, we'll make that tie-in happen. Most of what you saw affects directly your biology. So some people say, is it neurology before biology, or is it biology before neurology? I'm more in the neurology before biology camp. But so a lot of the stuff that we'll do with the recovery modalities, like the pulse center PMF, pulse electromagnetic field, or Aspen red light bed, or full body electric cryo, or that CVAC machine that uses different pressure changes to create an internal cellular workout. A lot of that will meld with neurology to create the most holistic effect possible. That makes sense.
So when I was getting my first treatment, what was that bed called that I laid on?
Yeah, that was the PMF, pulse electromagnetic field.
Right. Okay. And it seems to me that you explained that it's actually working with the electrical part of my body rather than just the physical?
Right. Essentially, it's electrically charging your body. It uses magnets. Again, it's called a pulse center. But basically, it's sort of under the assumption that our cells, they work within a negative millivolt within the cell, negative millivolts of 20 to 25. Okay. And then kids, for instance, run around at negative 35 millivolts. And then they say if you need to repair tissue or cells, you need to kick it up to negative 50 millivolts.
Wow.
But we tend to lose that charge. We tend to move toward a positive charge when we get stressed, overworked, maybe we're sick, deficiencies in the diet. We start to tend toward that positive charge. And, for instance, and we become more acidic, which cancer lives in an acidic environment, for instance.
Exactly.
So it's important to keep that charge.
Viruses, everything awful lives in acid, right?
Yeah. And I heard a guy postulate recently, it was a good theory I heard, but he said that, in essence, your brain picks up the fact that you don't have enough energy, so it makes it easier for your body to store fat. And that's
really interesting.
So, yeah, if you stay properly charged, and maybe your body gets the signal, hey, I don't need all this fat that I'm storing. I can rely on the energy I have to simplify it.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And I want to describe a little bit what it was like laying on the PMF. Is that the right word?
Right.
PMF.
Right.
At first, it doesn't hurt at all, but you feel like a kind of an electrical charge. Like I felt like bacon on a griddle.
Yeah. Right.
And it was, and then they put me, because I was having some problem with the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
They put one piece on top and one piece under my shoulder. And my shoulder was sort of like pulsing.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't really feel too much going on here. But when I got up, there was no pain.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting about laying on that bed when you don't have an attachment on you is the bed seems to find where you need the voltage the most. So it's different for different people. Some people get on there and they feel in their lower back, or maybe you feel in your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really unique that you feel that the energy is going to where your body needs to recoup that charge the most. And then it might move on to another area. Yeah.
And the table figures that all out by itself.
Yeah. Just the charge seemed to have a mind of its own. It just finds where you need that voltage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so Fitness Genome is about performance, recovery, and optimization. So
Yes.
would you explain each of those areas, Chris, to our listeners?
Yeah, it's great for someone looking for a performance edge because the different types of modalities we have in there can give you that type of edge. That CVAC machine I mentioned, a lot of endurance athletes really like it, triathletes, because it essentially, it's like a natural form of blood doping. It increases the oxygen carrying content of your blood.
Oh, wow.
And among other things that it does, it flushes metabolic waste, stem cell production. But like Novak Djokovic, for instance, #1 tennis player in the world, he's been using, I think, about 5 years.
Ah.
And
Now, is
so
that the thing looks a little like a bike?
That's the one that looks like a pod, like a futuristic
Oh, the
pod.
pod.
Yeah.
Little space pod up in the very front.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Again, I say to our listeners, be sure you check out the live stream video. If you scroll below this show, you'll see us there yesterday, and you'll see all this equipment, because this place is really something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all the latest, newest, cutting edge technology. And we're always looking to improve all that technology. But this is the latest that's out there. So you come in and check it out.
And so the way this technology works, if I understand, Chris, it's actually like monitoring what's going on with your body and then creating changes you need to maybe optimize the workout or the recovery or whatever's going on. Is that right?
Yeah. I like to look at it almost as, in a lot of, I use this term called nature re-engineering or nature nearing. But essentially all these different modalities in some capacity try to duplicate what we can get in nature if we had the time to go to different climates or have the time to get out in nature as much as we should. That just kind of condenses it down in some way that really augments what your body is able to do for itself, sort of helps your body heal itself or recover.
So gives
get
you like
stronger.
all the elements you need
Mm-hmm.
to have that healthy, strong body.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I know.
Just-
One of my other guests today has been riding his bike barefoot, and he
Yeah.
didn't even know about earthing.
Ah,
I explained
doing
to
it.
him that he was getting all these great electrons from
Right.
the earth.
it's true. Yeah.
All
He
right.
probably subconsciously just knew he liked it.
Just knew. He knew. He felt better.
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
isn't that interesting?
Exactly.
All right. We will continue this chat with Chris when we come back from this break, and we'll learn more about Fitness Genome and tell you how you can go there and discover it for yourself. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more Change It Up with Paula Shaw on AM 1170, The Answer.
Hi, Paula Shaw here. I'm so delighted to share with you that LifeWave has become our newest sponsor on Change It Up Radio. My family and I all use their tiny wearable patch technology, and the results are life-changing. My sister had lupus for over 20 years and has never slept well. Now she does. My mom's frozen shoulders simply went away. My favorite is the age-reversing X39, a patch engineered to activate stem cells. Yeah, it's true. They really work to improve how you look, feel, perform, and heal. LifeWave patches use a patented form of phototherapy, using frequencies of light to safely boost health and wellness at the cellular level with no drugs. Learn more online by visiting lifewave.com. That's lifewave.com.
Hi, I'm Kelly Klein of One Trust Home Loans, Loan Coach Kelly. A while back, my business was in a slump, and it triggered a lot of self-doubt and fear, and it even had me questioning if I'd made the right career choice. So I booked a session with Paula Shaw, and after hearing my predicament, she explained that when we get into negative, self-sabotaging thinking, and we're being run over by our limiting beliefs, it's almost impossible to create positive outcomes. She helped me clear those destructive thoughts and beliefs using her cutting-edge energy psychology techniques. Not only did I feel a whole lot better after the session, but within 2 weeks, I had 7 loans in my pipeline. I was so glad that I went to see Paula Shaw. And you should too. It really changed my perspective on life, business, and now my business is going great. You can reach her at 626-864-0756. That's 626-864-0756. 626-864-0756. Or check her out at paulashaw.com. That's paulashaw.com.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shaw.
Welcome back to Change It Up Radio, right here with Paula Shaw. And I have in studio with me today Chris Craig, who is the owner of the Fitness Genome, right here in San Diego in Carlsbad at the Forum. And as I mentioned in our last segment, I actually went to the Fitness Genome, and I got to experience not only some of the amazing state-of-the-art machines that they're working with at the Fitness Genome, but expert Chris Craig here did some work on me too, and he used a method called MAT, correct, Chris?
Correct.
And what does MAT stand for?
It stands for muscle activation technique.
Okay, so I'm going to describe what I experienced, and then I'll let Chris interpret and explain to you what's actually going on. But I had been having some trouble, like right here in my upper arm, at the joint, and kind of pain here in the upper part of my pecs. And I thought it was just this. Mm-hmm. And he's asking me if I have referred pain. I'm like, I don't think so. I think it just hurts where it hurts. Then he started doing this technique with me, and I'm going to let him explain it, but I got to tell you, my pain was out here, like right at the point where, above your underarm. And the place that he started working was where some muscle connects to my sternum. Even now when I touch it, it's so tender. I never would have thought that it was there that the problem began. So, Chris, what the heck was going on with me?
Yeah. So with MAT, you just you look at different joints and you test the range of motion, and you see an asymmetry in a range of motion, maybe just left to right. And then if you see that, then you go in and test all those muscles that are responsible for that motion you're looking at that's deficient. And you see some muscles that are weak, you test them, and you go in and you treat them at the attachment sites, and then you retest, and they'll test back strong. So it's creating a brain to muscle connection. And basically you can have muscles like that muscles work on the agonist-antagonist framework. So that if you have one muscle that's tight, it's usually protecting for a muscle on the other side that's weak.
So is that why sometimes you have a chronic pain in a certain area, because that muscle just keeps doing the wrong thing over and over again?
It could be. And then if you we always start to compensate. Our body's a great compensator. So we figure out another way to move a muscle, the brain does. And then the problem with that is you start to ingrain what they call a motor engram, or a motor pattern that's negative. And it can take thousands of corrective repetitions to correct that motor engram. But this is actually a more expedient way to go in and have the brain correct that program and make sure that joint's moving the way it should, with all the muscles activated and firing.
So how long does it take to get the brain on the right track and off the wrong one?
Yeah, we usually say it takes about 6 weeks, coming in twice a week. So 12 treatments.
Wow, the brain's stubborn, isn't
on
it?
average, yes, it is. Yeah.
So that that probably is making a lot of sense to our listeners. People have like a chronic pain in the low back or some other place like I was having here.
Yeah.
My brain's new automatic pilot is really doing the wrong thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And so it's causing me to keep injuring myself.
Right, exactly. And it does that somehow. Like I said, one muscle can become weak, so it becomes essentially less able to reflexively fire the way it needs to.
Mm-hmm.
And I said the other muscle on the other side becomes tight. And then the way that's mediated, it's mediated in the cerebellum, is basically your motor control, is your accuracy, balance, coordination.
Uh-huh.
And so with this technique where you go in and palpate the attachment sites, the muscles basically work where you have intrafusal muscle fibers, you have extrafusal. Intrafusal muscle fibers are placed on a stretch, and that stretch dictates the extrafusal fibers contracting.
Okay.
So when that stretch mechanism is not working properly, then that muscle is not firing properly, and you start to get different sorts of, I won't say pathologies, but the muscle doesn't work as well as it should.
I see.
And so when we go in and hit those attachment sites, most of your mechanoreceptors, what they call gamma receptors, are in your attachment sites within that stretch mechanism within the muscle cell. So that's what we're doing. We're going and stimulating that so that the extrafusal fibers, the contractile part of the muscle fiber, starts to work reflexively.
And of course, most of us don't understand all those terms.
Right.
But what I can tell you all is, oh my God, when he was done, it felt so much better.
Yeah, I mean, it really
And
does
you
work.
were doing things I wouldn't have thought to do. Now, of course, we all rub a sore muscle.
Yeah.
But what I realized is where I was rubbing wasn't where the problem actually originated.
Right.
That's what you found.
Right.
That was cool. And I had, speaking of stretching, I'd been doing a lot of stretching, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought, well, if you stretch a muscle correctly and just get it a good stretch, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But that isn't what was happening. And you said some interesting things to me about your theory about stretching. So let's share that.
Yes, I used to do yoga every day. I used to stretch every day. And I'm not saying there's a perfect correlation here, but I had a lot of issues with pulled muscles, hamstrings, calf, other things. But I've stopped stretching after I started doing a lot of research into stretching. And I'm totally for mobility, for basically making sure your joints are mobile. But I think static stretching, when you look into the physiology of it, basically your muscle attachments, they stay the same. Your bicep, for instance, is the same length, one attachment to the next. So that muscle doesn't actually lengthen or shorten in the truest sense of the word. But what you're doing when you stretch, you're actually stretching that Golgi tendon organ, GTO, which is the connection between the muscle and the bone. And that's actually the brain's protective mechanism. So with a stretch, you're attempting to override that protective mechanism. And then you can, and essentially you look at a lot of the research, they found that there can be some outliers out there, but in general, most people that work out or get ready for performance and athletic performance, they do better when they don't stretch.
Really?
Yes.
That's shocking.
Make themselves mobile, but don't stretch. And
so what are you saying, like it's like walk or move or whatever, but don't stretch?
Yeah, I'm saying not as good to statically stretch. I'm not saying it's 100%, but it's better just to get mobility, yes, within the joint, get the mechanoreceptors within the joint, get them firing and active. But the stretching can disable, to a certain degree, your contractile capability of the muscle.
Wow.
Same thing with massage, in actuality.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It feels good, but it's not necessarily good for us?
Well, I'm not going to go that far with the massage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
But
don't
when you
cancel
get a massage,
your appointments yet, guys.
when you get a massage, you notice you feel kind of lethargic and
yeah,
that's part of you've rubbed that entire muscle belly in a place called the non-contractile region of that muscle, and that also has a disabling effect on the muscles.
Oh, wow. So it isn't just
Contractility.
good old relaxation and non-stress that we're now experiencing?
And a lot of the time, you're looking for a type of stimulus. Generally, those when you work with fascia, or you work with muscle. I'm going to get too technical, but it's a lot of those responses are mediated to the brain through what are called tactile C fibers, which can create a response that you find pleasurable, and maybe it's something your brain needs at that time. But if you're looking to perform, especially within any sort of window of that stretching or massage,
Right.
then
Oh, not
do
good.
it. Right.
Oh, yeah, because
Yeah.
you're not in a peak state then,
Right.
right? Yeah, you're in a nice chill state.
All right.
Not
True.
good if you're about to go run a race or
Yeah.
ride a bike
Yeah.
or whatever you have to do.
And then this whole thing with stretching, I mean, you don't want to become, you get some hypermobility if you start to stretch out that Golgi tendon organ I mentioned, and then you have to worry, because any range of motion, you need to have motor control over that motion to make it a safe There's an old saying that we get injured in the ranges of motion we don't train, and that's generally saying that we don't have motor control. Maybe we get injured in a range of motion we don't have motor control.
Mm-hmm.
So we're much more prone to injury when that happens.
Wow.
So that's part of what
the
you
things we don't know
well,
and how they can hurt us.
yeah, it's part of what you try to build with any range of motion is you want the motor control along with it,
I see.
and then you're much less prone to injury.
So may I say, ladies and gentlemen, that if you would like to actually meet this man and have him, look at your body and help you understand what you're doing right and maybe what you're doing terribly wrong, as I probably have been, Chris, tell them about your open house coming up and tell them about how they can come by and see Fitness Genome.
Yeah, there's an open house we're having October 19th. It's from 12 to 5, so feel free to stop in. We'll have some juice. We're also having an IV pop up 2 days before, October 17th. It's going to be mainly just vitamin IVs, D3 and B12, Myers cocktail, things like that. But that'll be October 17th. You can come by, I think, 5 to 7. Then we're going to have a guy speaking there. He's known as the NADMD, but his name's Dr. Philip Milgram. But he's on the cutting edge, really, with a lot of different therapies.
Ooh, cool.
And so he'll be speaking at 6 on the 17th.
Okay.
He's speaking from 6 to 7.
And we should give him an address because people hear this show all over. So.
Okay.
Where is the Fitness Genome?
It's in the Forum at Carlsbad, and it's on the edge of Encinitas and Carlsbad, North County, San Diego, and it's 1905 Calle Barcelona, and it's Suite 234, and we're up on the second floor. Yeah, yes. Second floor, right above
Near
Bed Bath
Aveda.
& Beyond. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good tip to give people.
True. The escalators are there. Come up the escalators, take a right.
And would you like to give them a website and a phone number, maybe?
Sure. It's fitnessgenome.net. And the phone number is 858-367-0210. So call us, go online.
One more time.
858-367-0210.
And fitnessgenome.net. Genome spelled Genome. Fitness Genome. Chris, Craig, thank you so much for giving us some amazing information.
You
know I'll be back because I am getting rid of my pain. I don't know about the rest of you folks, but I suggest you find Chris in the Fitness Genome. And we will be right back in just a few moments with Carson Caldwell, who made it to California. Be right back.
We'll be right back with more Change It Up with Paula Shaw on AM 1170, The Answer.
Now, more than ever, it's important for women to understand why they need a financial strategy. Women tend to make less money than men, live longer, and face more financial challenges during retirement. Hi, I'm Sherry Blair. With evolving roles and increasing responsibilities, women are seeking out ways to become more knowledgeable about their finances. My life's work has been to empower women to make good financial decisions today to help ensure you have a bright future tomorrow. I'm here to help you learn more and to become more. Give me a call for your free no-obligation consultation or a second opinion at 619-997-0416. 619-997-0416. That's 619-997-0416.
Sherry Blair is registered with and securities are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. California license number 0B42369.
My business has lost its upward momentum. I'm working up to 14 hours a day, but my sales seem to have plateaued. I'm so overwhelmed.
I used to have that same problem, but ever since I found the Balanced Millionaire Consulting Firm, our sales and profits have risen sharply. Even our staff is more engaged, and the atmosphere is full of energy.
I have no time to work on my business to develop new sales and marketing strategies. I would love to expand, have strategic partnerships, and access to financing.
You can do all of that and more. The Balanced Millionaire Consulting Team advises you on streamlining your operations, establishing alliances, and most importantly, increasing your revenues and profits.
Let us help you build value and reduce stress in your business. Take charge. Don't let your business control your life. Visit thebalancedmillionaire.com or call 442-224-0160 for a free consultation. That's 442-224-0160 or thebalancedmillionaire.com.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shaw.
Okay. All right, we're back. Thank you. Welcome back to Change It Up Radio. You're here with Paula Shaw, and I am really looking forward to this next segment because we are going to come full circle with Carson Caldwell, who we started tracking with. Oh my goodness, I'll have to ask Carson how long ago it was, but it feels like 3 months now. Carson, as many of you may remember, is the young 24-year-old man who rode his bike from Philadelphia to, he has now crossed the California state line, so he's here with us, and he has been doing all of this for a cause. And Carson, are you there?
Yes. Hello, Paula. How are you?
Hi. I'm so delighted you're actually here in good old California. What a trek, huh? You have done something amazing. Do we have any idea how many thousands of miles you have gone on your bike, Carson?
I can only estimate roughly, but I want to say it's in the neighborhood of 3,200 miles, around there.
Wow. That's a lot of miles on a bike. And you know what, Carson, just for our listeners who may not have heard our earlier interviews, let's just give them the backstory of why you did this, how this whole journey began. Can you go ahead and tell them that?
Yeah, absolutely. I had been planning on doing a cross-country bike ride for a while, and then a couple months before I left, I realized I could, highlight a specific cause, and I decided to try to raise money to help feed people in Yemen, which is unfortunately the place in the world today where it's basically the largest humanitarian crisis in the world, where anywhere from 8 to 20 million people are in urgent need of humanitarian aid. And so it became my mission to turn this cross-country bike trip into a vehicle to raise awareness. And I'm really happy about how it turned out, really.
So you found out, and I think I remember you telling me, Carson, you Googled where were the most starving people in the world. Is that how you found this situation in Yemen?
I specifically Googled which countries are starving, which led me to find out about what's happening in Yemen. Yeah.
And I think one of the things you've shared with me that I found the most shocking is that over 85,000 children under the age of 5 have already died of starvation. Is that correct?
Yeah. And of course, when I learned this too, it was very heartbreaking, and it was almost unbelievable to think that, in the world today, that these types of atrocities are occurring. And it's also pretty sad that it's not really being talked about very much. So I kind of just decided to, fight for their cause and try to do what I can to make a positive impact.
I think that's just so beautiful. I mean, I believe one of the people on my staff who's a little bit older than you was saying, most people, young people, it's tough to pry them off the couch or away from the video games. But you, of your own volition, decided to ride your bike across the United States to try and bring awareness to this situation in Yemen. And I think that is just so beautiful, so honorable. And Carson, we haven't mentioned yet, because some of the people that are hearing this interview today may not have heard some of our past ones, but when Carson started out, he was riding his bike barefoot. Now, this was not a gimmick to just try and get more press. Tell them, Carson, why were you riding barefoot?
Yeah, well, I'm still riding barefoot. But basically, I don't like wearing shoes, and it basically comes down to a couple of basic things. Basically, the mobility of my foot is limited by shoes, and I just basically feel more comfortable when I'm barefoot. And I kind of discovered a little while ago, maybe like a year or two ago, that riding a bike barefoot was a lot of fun. So I kind of just decided to pursue it because I don't think many other people are doing it. So I figured it would be an interesting skill to hone. And I'm very happy and grateful that it all worked out and that I was able to basically ride my bike entirely barefoot across the country.
And I know, Carson, you were saying recently to me that in the places where the pavement was so hot, like 120 degrees, you had to put on some kind of a sandal. And and what was your experience when you did actually start wearing shoes again for a little bit?
Truthfully, I really I noticed that it's almost like the shape of my foot changed a little bit again, because it's like my toes were being compressed. I actually really disliked it, and it's not that the pavement was so hot, rather that it was just kind of like, I think once I got below a certain latitude, I just didn't really feel comfortable like walking everywhere barefoot, especially in the Southwest. There's just a lot of, I think there's a lot more like sharp things.
Yes.
So it was just kind of like a safety precaution, but ultimately I really prefer to avoid those sandals as much as possible. So I'm still basically mostly barefoot.
That's so great. And I want to share with our audience that when I first interviewed Carson and he told me about that, I thought perhaps he knew about earthing and that he was just such a passionate believer in earthing that he constantly wanted his feet in contact with the earth, because there is a lot of great research proving that when we wear shoes or when we have a barrier between the bottoms of our feet and the earth, we actually are cutting ourselves off from electrons from the earth that we need so that our body processes can happen, because we are very electrical beings, as Chris Craig was sharing with us in our last segment. So Carson wasn't even aware of this, and when I mentioned it to Chris, he said, wow, he must have instinctively and just felt the difference and known that it was better for him. Actually, there is one researcher, Carson, who said that the worst thing that ever happened to mankind was shoes. So I think, you may be channeling him, because he was from quite a while back and is no longer with us, but definitely said that shoes are not wonderful for us. And I hadn't even thought about things like impacting the shape of your foot. So that's a very interesting insight. So Carson, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that, it's like the pinky toe on the edge of your toe is like very small, and it's easily manipulated by like the shape of what you put it in. So like if you don't have your foot in a shoe, your toes spread out and you actually get like more balance. But yeah, when you compress your foot into a shoe, it can actually morph the shape of like the bones in your foot, which is very bad.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. And what comes to mind for me too, one of my partners in LifeWave, which I know you're familiar with, as your dad is the vice president of marketing there, and they are my sponsor. One of my partners in LifeWave, Brad Huntsacker, is a reflexologist, and I have gotten from him a chart of all these places on your foot that relate to other organs in your body. And so that little pinky toe, I want to look at on that chart and see, because we actually are affecting other parts of our body through what stimulates the foot. So that's pretty interesting too, because the idea of compressing your feet actually could be causing impact on organs and other parts of your body. Very, very interesting. So Carson, tell me now, how long has this journey been going on? I'm saying almost 3 months. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's slightly over 3 months.
Okay.
So I started riding on June 29th.
Mm-hmm.
I should know the exact amount of days that it's taken. I want to say it's like 92 or 93, around there. Yeah, so it's almost 100 days.
So you have covered a lot of territory. You've been in a lot of states. You've met a lot of people, and put out a lot of energy. And I'm sure you've been through some tough times as well as great times, and you did all this for people in a country that you don't even know. So before we end this segment, and we're bringing Carson back in the next segment so we can learn more, but let's give them the information if they are moved to want to donate to these starving children, starving people in Yemen. What do they do, Carson?
I would ask them to go to bikeforyemen.org, and that's bike, the number 4, yemen.org, and there you can make a contribution, and these contributions basically go directly to feeding people and providing medical kits for people in Yemen. So I would also say thank you very much, and I would also like to say thank you to everybody else who has already donated. We've raised close to $20,000 so far, which is pretty huge, and I'm very, very happy about that.
That is excellent. And when we come back, Carson, we'll be talking a little bit more about not only your journey, but what's going to be happening at the end. So hang on, stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back after this break.
We'll be right back with more Change It Up with Paula Shaw on AM 1170, The Answer.
Jack Gutman survived World War II and then returned home to the hardest fight of his life with PTSD and alcoholism. Now at age 93, he's a businessman and comedian, sharing his message of recovery and hope in his new book, One Veteran's Journey to Heal the Wounds of War, helping our heroes and anyone who has experienced PTSD find happiness again. Get Jack Gutman's new book, One Veteran's Journey to Heal the Wounds of War, at Amazon.com, or to order a signed copy, call 714-525-4954.
For those looking to improve their lives, there's nobody better to turn to than Paula Shaw. Paula helps people regain successful lives by identifying and eliminating self-sabotaging behavior using a multitude of mind-body techniques to identify and resolve their core issues. Working with a wide variety of healing modalities, she provides her clients with the most effective process for their specific needs. To book a session with Paula, call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shaw.
Welcome back to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. So delighted to have you here with me, and we are in this segment continuing our discussion with Carson Caldwell, who is 24 years old and has crossed the United States on his bike to raise money for the starving children of Yemen. And we're being brought to you by LifeWave, leaders in the field of activating your stem cells and creators of phototherapy patches to change your life and your health. So, Carson, I have so many questions I want to ask you, and I know the time's going to fly. So let me just start with, what did you find was the hardest part of doing what you did? Because I'm sure that's where a lot of people's heads gravitate to first. Whoa, that sounds really hard. What was the hardest part?
I haven't really thought about that too much. I mean, of course, it was pretty strenuous
Mm-hmm.
and physically grueling at times, but I really enjoy riding my bike and enjoy like extreme exercise. So those things weren't so bad for me. I would say sometimes it would just be like the solitude, like not really being around people that I can have in-depth conversations with. Sometimes was pretty challenging, but honestly, I was having a pretty good time most of the time, just kind of experiencing new places and like planning out, what I would be doing the next day and kind of just soaking in my surroundings. So I would say basically the solitude in some regards was a little challenging.
Mm. And what was your favorite part, or maybe your favorite place, or was there someone you met along the way that really stands out in your mind?
Yeah, there are so many amazing places that stand out, and also really amazing interactions with people that stand out. But I would say my favorite location that I was in was Pecos, New Mexico, which is like 30 miles outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was just an extremely beautiful and peaceful place. And I spent some time at a monastery there, and had a really incredible time just kind of relaxing and taking in the environment. And it was just extremely peaceful. And yeah, I won't forget that area at all.
And you must have met some wonderful people there at the monastery, I would imagine, too. People who were like you, connected to nature and being of service, and just probably really down-to-earth, wonderful people.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's really no like hustle and bustle or drama, at these types of places. So
Yeah.
it's very, they're very warm, welcoming, peaceful people. Yeah. So those people at the monastery were definitely very, very good people.
Yeah, in that part of the country, there's some very special energy there, too, I think. Santa Fe is in an interesting vortex. Sedona is another place that has those interesting energy vortexes, and almost a magical experience being there. So I'm delighted to hear you like that place. And by the way, some of our listeners know, I think I mentioned it once before, that while he was in Santa Fe, Carson stayed with a dear friend of mine, Fanny Pierce, and Paul Rellis, and had a wonderful experience. And I sent her a text this morning, Carson, and told her that you'd made it to California, and she was delighted to hear that. So you have a hello from Fanny and Paul as well.
Oh, great. Yeah, they were just an incredible couple, and they were both so intelligent, and I had such great conversations with them. And I'm so grateful to have been able to spend some time with them. They're just incredibly just superb people.
Yes, lovely people, lovely people. Paul Rellis, actually, for our listeners, is one of the original people that started recycling and green thinking and all of that here in the state of California. So he's a really wonderful man in the work that he's done, and also a great human being. So all right, Carson, let's talk a little bit about what happens when you finally get here. Is there going to be any kind of an event when you arrive at your end place?
Yes. So we've scheduled the final ending ceremony to be in Long Beach this Monday, the 14th, and it's going to be on the beach off of the corner of Ocean Boulevard and Temple Avenue, and we're basically just going to have like a small, reception and kind of sort of signify the end of the cross-country trip there.
Okay, so it's going to be October 17th. Is that correct?
I think it's October 14th.
I'm sorry,
14th.
October 14th. Oh, that's right. I've got another thing in my head that's happening on the 17th. October 14th. Do we know what time?
Yep, at 11 a.m.
11 a.m., okay. on Ocean Boulevard and Temple Avenue, the corner there at the beach.
Yep, that's exactly right.
All right. So for those of you who have been following Carson along with me all these months, if you are here in Southern California and you are moved to be there on the day he arrives, which, by the way, I will be, and we'll be live streaming from there. So those of you that can't make it will at least be able to see it on our live stream. That's the day that he will be officially arriving at the coast. So he will have gone coast to coast from then. And let's, one more time, by the way, if you're just joining us, we're talking to Carson Caldwell, a 24-year-old young man who's ridden a bike across the United States, barefoot for the most part, to raise money for the starving children in Yemen. And, Carson, let's give them the information. If they are moved to donate to help this cause, they should do what?
They can go to bikeforyemen.org, and that's bike, the number 4, yemen.org. And there you can make a contribution and kind of see what I've done on this trip. But then also there's resources to learn about where the money goes and how Beit Mal operates. And I would also say thank you very much to those considering donating. And I'd also like to say thank you to those who already have donated.
And one of the things we haven't mentioned in this particular interview is Beit Mal. Would you tell our listeners a little bit about them?
Sure. They're a nonprofit charity based in Dallas, Texas. And I reached out to them specifically because I was really impressed with how efficient they were in terms of like allocating resources. And like, for instance, charities spend money on raising money. So like some huge charities spend a lot of money on raising money. And basically, like, sometimes when you donate to these bigger charities, you know, you don't really know how much actually goes to where you want it to go, or it's maybe like a fraction of each dollar goes directly to where you want it to go. But Beit Mal has like an extremely efficient system, and they keep their overhead costs relatively low, and they're able to get a little over 90% of every dollar donated goes directly to where it should go. And so I was really impressed by these metrics, and that's why I decided to contact them and represent Beit Mal in the Bike for Yemen campaign.
And again, if people want to donate, go to bike, numeral 4, Yemen, YEMEN.org. So, Carson, you've crossed the country on a bike. You've done something that probably only a handful of people in all of history have ever done. You know, this is pretty amazing. So the first thing I want to ask you is, would you do it again?
I think I would. Yeah, I definitely think I would.
And what do you think were some of the most valuable pieces for you in terms of what you got out of it? Because you gave so much for another cause. But what was the most valuable parts for you? What did you learn, or what do you know now or feel differently about than you did in the beginning?
Well, I definitely, I feel like I learned a lot, and it's hard to just choose one thing. I would say that just kind of being motivated by the right reasons to do the right things is you don't really have to worry so much about what happens in life, as long as you're trying to do the right things for the right reasons. So kind of just relaxing and letting life take its course. I've kind of learned to like let that happen more so, I think, on this trip.
Wow, that's a huge piece of wisdom, Carson, that some people don't learn even after spending 90 years on this planet. So I am so excited to be there next week when you arrive in Long Beach on the 14th at 11 o'clock on the corner of Ocean and Temple. And Carson Caldwell, it's been so delightful having you on my show every week following this journey. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And hopefully lots of our other listeners will be there too. So I'll see you then, Carson.
All right. Thank you, Paula.
You're so welcome. Thank you. And thank you to all my listeners for being with us. Thank you to the Facebook live stream viewers who are with us right now. Remember, you can hear Change It Up Radio at 9 o'clock on Sunday evenings on AM 1170 The Answer and 96.1 FM. You can also hear us on every major podcast platform, including iHeartRadio and Blog Talk Radio. So until next week, take care and thank you for being with us. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Change It Up with life transitions expert, speaker, and best-selling author Paula Shaw. Join the Change It Up movement with Paula Shaw as we explore topics that inspire, welcome change, and create a new kind of conversation. To learn more about Paula, how to be a guest on the show, and sponsorship opportunities, visit changeitupradio.com. Whether you're feeling happy, sad, mad, or glad, it never hurts to change it up.
Apparently I had, my mic was off, so you couldn't hear me. So I just wanted to say to the Facebook live stream viewers, thanks for being with us. And any of you, excuse me, any of you who can be at the corner of Ocean Boulevard and Temple Avenue next week at 11 o'clock to welcome Carson back, please be there. That'll be on October 14th on the Monday. And also, take a minute and scroll down and check out our live stream look at the Fitness Genome from yesterday. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks.